Very excited about what we're talking about today. Some of you know that that I do have a WAVwatch frequency fanatic group, and that's being live stream on Facebook. And that way it's just available immediately. Makes a few more buttons for me to press, and hopefully I'll get it, taken care of. But anyway, the website is WAVwatch.com. and lots of things that you can see on there also. And I'm Linda Bamber. I'm your host today, and I'm also the creator of the WAVwatch. So it took me several years. I worked on it about 13 years before I finally got it on the market just a little over a year ago now. So I used to be a teacher, and one of my favorite classes was an invention class that I taught to 6th, 7th, 8th graders, where I had an accelerated English or gifted class. And it's kind of interesting how an invention class that I taught helped me with my invention idea on the WAVwatch. So anyway, just a little bit of background. Was everybody able to see the dental support?
Yes,
Okay.
we see it.
Okay, because I went through one workshop and nobody was seeing what I was seeing. So you saw dental support?
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that. One of these days, it's just going to be perfect. There will be no problems. So here we go. Okay, I know we've already went over this before. We might have some new people, but try to wear your watch on the left hand. You do absorb energy through your left hand, and you actually pass it and share it out through your right hand. So just a little bit of ideas about the WAVwatch before we really get into meat of the program today. Each frequency set's like a different song. So some songs, just like when you're listening on the radio, you really hum along, and you have a little bit of movement too if you're driving along. And then some songs just kind of turn you flat. And that's kind of how the WAVwatch might be. There might be several different songs for the same problem. And one of them will speak to you more than others, but you don't know. So you do want to play through most of the songs that I put together in the same category. And it's not going to upset your system if there's a quote unquote song or a favorite or a playlist or something that your body doesn't love. It's not going to hurt it. Your body might not bounce as much using that. Okay, so I think that we're missing a little bit of something. So this is a new slide I've added, but favorites and playlists have already been made for you. Basically, you can make your own playlist with this, but I found out that people were missing a lot. So that's why I developed categories, and now they have their own icons. So they're already like a playlist to use. And then some of them, have so many categories that you do have to open one more layer to get to that playlist. But for example, the dental that we're talking about today is inside pain. I thought maybe people would connotate pain and dental. So pain is a large category, but when you find dental, when you open it, that's a playlist that's pretty well put together for you. Another example would be Lyme disease. That's just a playlist all on itself. You tap that particular icon, and then the first frequency, if you tap it, and it will start playing. If you have it set with the double arrows on the lower left-hand corner, you'll be able to play all 25 ideas in the Lyme's playlist. Now, the importance of that is that one lady kind of taught me, just interested listening to people. And she said she had made her own playlist, that she had some problems with Lyme disease. And she had 75 ideas in the playlist. And I just started, rattling, did you find this one? Did you find this one? Did you find this one? And no, her Lyme, quote unquote, playlist was Lyme disease. But there are 25 ideas that really need to be covered because there's so many co-infections. Another idea that I asked her was, oh, well, did you find chemtrail detox? she said she also was playing some detox things that she had in her playlist. I said, oh, did you find the chemtrail detox? No, I didn't know that was on there. So that's why I've set those together for you. So detox is a complete list also. And all you have to do is tap that one, open it up, tap the first one, and let it play through all of them. We need every single one of those detox ideas. Also, the length of the frequency gives you some information. So if you see a frequency set that comes up for 8 minutes, it's just the frequency by itself as it's labeled. If it's a little bit longer set, like a 15-minute set, then it has inflammation, pain, and trauma added to that original set probably. And if it's a 30-minute set, it has several ideas together. And the one I've really worked on the most is breast health, because that's my niche that I have worked in for 15 years. And so a 30-minute cycle would have inflammation, pain, and trauma in it. It would have something to do with breast health, a particular category. It would also have lymphs and detox, and it would have liver drainage, that kind of thing. So I have learned as women or people came into my office. Another really good one is kidney stones. That's a longer one, and that's because it has several ideas about kidney stones that are all combined together, because you might not know how to pick through the 850 ideas that we have and be able to do that. So 8 minutes is the length of time that's suggested by most practitioners for frequencies, and then they'll also tell you to repeat after a short break. So that's why the list is a good one to loop through, or sometimes I have combos. So it's in the combo, and then once you loop on through the whole list, it will play it one more time. So you effectively played it 2 times with a break, and that gives a little bit better work. Okay, so today what I wanted to talk about was dental infections. And I'm probably going to talk too much about this because it affects everything. It sounds so simple, but it's not. So this is the list that I have put together in dental information. And just like I mentioned, dental combo, that is a combination of all the other 9 of the other 8 ideas actually. And so when you play dental combo as the first one, it's a longer set, and then it will play through all the ideas, and then goes from the dental combo to dental general, and it will play them all one more time. So when you're setting that, you've actually played them 2 times. So before it will turn and shut off if you have it set on the double arrows. And I meant to put in a diagram of the double arrows, so I hope everybody knows what I'm talking about on that. So it's in the quick start guide, and we do have a diagram. I don't know if I need to, kind of show you that, but so it's in the quick start guide. This diagram right down here, I'm talking about the lower left-hand corner, shows you where to set it so that it will repeat through. I could hold my watch up, but it's a little bit harder to, even to see it on the watch. So again, use that double arrows that are going to the right to make it play through every particular set. Now, why is dental so important? We're a little bit behind in America. Europe has known for years, decades probably, that we have toxic dental materials, that our root canals are toxic. Actually, even back in the 20s, there was a lot of work done here by Weston Price on dental, and it just really hasn't been adopted mainstream. So I have a picture here, and this is one of my favorite pictures. I do have it in my office. This is my thermography camera, and you can kind of see somebody has their head tipped up. You can see the bottom of their glasses, and the green area is the chin right here, and that is light green. And then you see all the red around her chin, and then you see it move down her throat, past her thyroid, and past other ideas. So this thermogram shows dental inflammation going down one side of the body. So we can see it, but we're not knowing how to work on it very good. So root canals are connected with cancer. So we need to be getting concerned about this. So here's another picture that I've captured. I sure hope everybody can see this because this one just blew me away. This young man's wife sent him in because she'd gotten a breast thermogram, and he came in because he actually had a lump in his chest. And when I took the picture of his whole face was just on fire. I couldn't even get the picture adjusted to see it hardly any better. So you can see how the right, yes, that is the right side of his face, is so inflamed. And of course, guess what he had? An abscessed tooth that he hadn't done anything with. He actually called it an abscessed tooth. And, just it just blew me away that somebody might not take care of an abscessed tooth. Anybody think that's a little bit unusual looking? So he didn't even bother to go to the dentist, and then he wondered why he had a lump in his chest. So people do let abscesses go. I could not believe that he didn't realize how dangerous it was. It takes a while to get to the next screen. I'm not sure what's going on here, but we'll get it. So these are some other images that I've captured. And this, the top one is another one that shows dental and a thyroid, an immune problem. And you can see all of that inflammation on the right side, and you can just see it trickle down his throat. Now, as this trickles down our throat, certain teeth will bother the thyroid or the parathyroid. And there's a huge chart and everything that we can see to let us know which tooth bothers which areas in our body. So on the bottom picture, same thing. This is another one going down the throat, bothering that. And then the third picture, we can't see it visually, but we do know that this messes up the immune system. So on the front side, they had the problem with the teeth, and on the back side, we could see this blue spot right here. And in thermography, that usually means that their immune system is messed up. It's very dysfunctional. Something's wrong with it. So those are a few more pictures that I captured. So I have these listed. Sorry, gals, not trying to exclude the gentleman here, but there are specifically 8 teeth connected to breast cancer. So I have a lot of information about this. Now, the same thing goes with prostate. I've had a couple of medical doctors send men to my office to have a thermogram so that we could figure out if their teeth were causing some problems in the prostate area. So it doesn't matter where we're talking about. The root canals are linked dramatically. So here's some more statistics. Or I guess I skipped one. So this is the pathway. This is called a meridian pathway. And of course, this was developed and figured out years ago by the Chinese. And I just have a couple listed here. But you can look at every tooth. And I tried to go to capture a screen, and I was not very good at it. But Dr. Ramey in St. Louis, Missouri, actually has a meridian chart. So I did, click it right here for you. But there is a chart that you can go to. It shows you the outline of your mouth, and you just click on it, and it'll show you where every single tooth drains into. And I was going to try to get it on this, and I couldn't get it to work. But this is a printed version of it here. So again, if you want to find out what tooth, if you've had a problem with a tooth, whether you've had a root canal there, if you've got a filling in it, it's bothering you, you can easily look it up by just saying meridian tooth chart or, connections with teeth and other systems in your body. So like the second molar right upper, the first thing it does is drain down into the parathyroid on the right side, and then it goes to the breast on the right side, goes on down to the pancreas, the esophagus, the stomach. All of these vertebrae are irritated. The spinal marrow is irritated. It will bother the jaw. It'll bother the hip. It'll bother the knee and the ankle, let alone the tongue and the sinuses. So that's just one tooth and the damage it can do in every area of the body. So this is huge. This is why the WAVwatch can be really pretty spectacular. I don't have as many images captured as I would like to, but it has done a really good thing with getting rid of inflammation in several people from their testimonies. So again, if I just looked at the, T3, it's going to bother the thyroid and the breast on the right side again. So just an example. So you can find charts of this. And again, it'll just click and it'll show you wherever you want to go, whichever tooth you're interested in. Now, I thought this was kind of an interesting quote. The medical community is actually getting to be very interested in what the dental is doing. They're not as far ahead as Europe, but this was a quote from, and I think I have it at the bottom of the slide where the quote is from. But basically, Dr. Stone is saying, I know you dentists are killing my patients. I just want to find out how you're doing it. So this is what is going on. So I'm going to show you a few slides here that I think a lot of you know because some of you have had some dental problems. So root canals. Root canals are cancer causing, basically. So Dr. Rao, he's been in the news for a long time, states that after 40 years of treating cancer, 97% of his terminal cancer patients had had root canals. So at that point, he was saying that no cancer cure can kill these microbes that are associated with root canals. So about 60 million of them are performed a year. So there's a book, The Root Canal Cover-Up, and that's a great one. So another study, Dr. Robert Jones had a 5-year study of 300 breast cancer cases, and 93% of women with breast cancer had root canals, and the other 7% had something wrong with their teeth. Something else wrong. So ladies, I think, and gentlemen, I think that the idea for the WAVwatch and the dental is huge because we don't stop to do some things once in a while, and we may not even know that we have a problem with our teeth. And I am a person that I'm the perfect example of it. I just started working with a new gal in my office for thermography, and she took some images of me just practicing, and I had something going on with my teeth. So of course I ran the all of the frequency sets a couple of times for the dental, the 9 that were listed there. I ran all of them, and then she did another thermogram for me, and the inflammation was gone out of my chin. And see, I didn't even know that I had something. So I could not find those pictures today. I'm not sure if we didn't get them saved correctly when we were doing them because it was brand new for her to take those images, but I could not find them to share with you. So, most of you know me and know that I wouldn't be, exaggerating that. Basically, I had a lot of inflammation on my mouth, and it went away within just a couple of days when I used those particular folders for dental. So we need to play these regardless, just as a preventive idea. It's so connected with cancer. So here's another idea that I tell women a lot, and some of you may know this, some of you may not. But the part about why it's so dangerous is because every tooth has all these little tiny, they're calling them tubules, has all these little tiny nerves and tubules that extend for 3 miles. There's 3 miles of roots in our mouth, 3 miles of nerve roots. And these were identified years ago by Weston Price. And he said that there were at least—
I haven't listened to this guy.
Pardon? Everything okay? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I think somebody just needs to mute.
Okay, I was hoping that was all it was, but thank you for, making sure, let me know if you can't hear me. So Weston Price actually had found 75 different little canals in just one tooth. And somebody told me, I don't know that I could verify this, but that some dentists now are kind of having a little bit of a race because they get their name if they discover a new canal going off from a tooth. again, there's 3 miles of them, that they get that canal named after them. So that was kind of a little thing that dentists were jockeying for, was to discover a new root canal or a new canal that goes off from the tooth. But every tooth, doesn't that just blow you away? I mean, why don't we know that? I didn't know that for years. This is just something new I kind of learned. So every tooth has 3 miles of roots. So what happens when we get a root canal? They remove the, the dentists remove the root canal, they remove the nerve from the main canals, but the rest is left to decay in your mouth. And sometimes it can take years as infection moves through every single one of those areas that we talked about. Every tooth could bother about 15 areas in your body. It's huge, it's huge, it's huge. And we are not really paying attention to that. I think some of us obviously have known somebody that's had trouble with a root, a root canal, or just our teeth. One of my saddest stories, I had a classmate that went to have his teeth cleaned. And 2 days later, he's in a coma. And he was in a coma for 2 to 3 weeks. And even the medical community said it was from the infection from some tooth, because he just had his teeth cleaned. So luckily he came out of it, but it's taken him a couple of years to get close to normal. So we have these infections that we cannot even begin to realize, that could just be a little bit stagnant in our body, and then something activates them. I've also had a couple of clients that came, and we were, working on teeth, mentioning some information about teeth. And, a couple of them volunteered that, yes, they had a relative that had also had their teeth cleaned and had a heart attack. So it was a different tooth. So a different tooth would go to the heart. So those are usually the wisdom teeth that will bother the heart. So very, very important. So if you are looking at doing some work on your teeth, please, please run your dental programs. Make sure that you're swishing with some silver or some iodine and silver. Make sure you're doing some oil pulling. I know I'm talking to the choir here, preaching to the choir. Most of you know about all these techniques, but now we have a new tool so that you can add all the frequencies for the WAVwatch. And then there's some more that's going to be coming that we'll talk about towards the end of it. But those would be the main ones. Just go to dental and make sure you are playing them. Now, here's another connection. Nearly every chronic degenerative disease has been linked to root canals. So here we have dead teeth and deadly toxins. So arthritis, joints, rheumatic, neurological, ALS, MS, autoimmune, cancer, kidney disease, heart disease. That's a pretty long list, and it gets longer and longer as we talk about different things. So basically, our teeth, if we've had any work on them, or even if we haven't had any work on them, just when teeth begin to break down and start to shoot toxins through our body, we can be in trouble. So what they think that is happening is that there's a protein blocking that's causing some of this havoc. So tumors occurred on the same side of the body as the root canal or the oral problem, and the toxins from the bacteria can inhibit specific proteins. So I don't know a lot about that, but that was just, a little bit to back this up, that, if you've got a problem with a tooth and then all of a sudden you have some kind of a pain in your body that's more on that same side, you should begin to think dental. Now, I know one day I woke up and I had some acne on my face, and I just ran I think it was before I had the WAVwatch actually. And I ran the bacteria, I took something for bacteria, took a homeopathic for bacteria, and it went away. And then a couple of weeks later, the same thing came up. I had acne, but this time my breast hurt on that same side. Some areas of my stomach were hurting. The knee hurt and the ankle hurt. So I looked up the trail that this tooth could be, that a tooth could make through my body. And that was exactly it. I was feeling pain all the way through all of those areas. So again, I still didn't have the WAVwatch at that point in time, but I did, quite a bit of work, and that has gone away. And then when I got the WAVwatch developed, I used it quite a bit. So it's huge to know that it bothers not just a little bit of our body, but our whole body. Now, I know I'm talking a mile a minute because we have lots of things. Ladies, what do you think about that picture? Yes. So now we know that we've got root canals that can be scattering bacteria throughout our body. But now we have another layer, and this is the dental problem. Dental materials can cause havoc in your body. And look at some of these pictures. Maybe I should skip through that quickly, but I think you kind of want to think about that. If you had, I had a little bit of acne. That was all I had, but look at some of these problems.
It's too cold to go downstairs, Harrison. It's too cold.
So this new dental disease, they have now named a disease from toxins. These pictures are from a study concluding that people have reaction to dental materials. And these were attracting parasites into the person's system and causing people to look like this. Now, I had a lady in my office that actually found this information. She had the problem. My biomeridian identified it as a dental problem. But at that point in time, I didn't know it was a parasite overload. And she found these images in this study, and she fit right into the study. She had been everywhere. And the study says that an average of 25 medical doctors had been visited. And she had been told herself that it was just all in her head and that she needed some emotional support. So participants in this study, and same way with this lady, she'd had her mercury amalgams taken out, and then she'd replace them with nice white materials. So we're talking about, porcelain look, the white materials in their mouth. They were so proud. They didn't have any silver. They didn't have any mercury, basically silver, mercury amalgams. They only had the new materials, but every single material was toxic to them. So they had to take these materials out again if they were able to figure out that that's what it was, because it took quite a while for those toxins to, get loose from their fillings and move through their system. So that was a huge problem. And I don't know that I need to show you that again, but that's what she looked like. So obviously she was doing a lot of research, and she found the images and the parasite connection. So hopefully we just learned a new thing. So make sure that you play parasites. If you've got some fillings in your mouth that you can't get out right now, some of the nice white porcelain look or something else in your mouth, make sure you play parasites on the WAVwatch. It does seem to be an excellent product to get rid of parasites fairly quickly. You might want to do something else, but at least you know that you have something on your watch for parasites that would help this idea. Now let me show you another picture. Okay, so they actually named this. So the dental community named this disease neurocutaneous syndrome, NCS. It's a newly discovered toxicity disorder, and they have neurological sensations, pain, depleted energy, memory loss, as well as all of these problems. So the names were connected to, this toxicity was connected to the list that I gave you here. Not that I know exactly what they are. They're dental sealants. They have names like Dical, Live, Sealaplex, and they have some of these particular materials in them. Now, ladies, I put this in the big print. They named a disease, but they did not make it illegal to use these materials in our mouths. Just like we know mercury is dangerous, they can still put it in our mouths. Same way with these. So when you go in and you have some kind of dental work done, you could be sensitive to these particular materials And that's the problems that when people are having. And usually it is women. It seems like we tend to go to the dentist a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more dental work done. But think twice, begin to really think twice. So what do you think would be good at this stage? If you think you have some fillings in your mouth that are the sealants. One idea that I already gave you was the parasites, that you should run parasites. The second one, I think it's pretty obvious that we need to be detoxing all kinds of chemicals. So that's why you start at the top of the detox folder and you play every single one of them, okay? Because you're not quite sure which song is going to do the best job of getting those out, which one speaks to your body the most. And once in a while, it might be labeled chemtrail detox, and it actually might take some of these ideas out rather than the one that's a chemical detox or a mercury detox, that kind of thing. So play them all. Now, this is jumping ahead again. We're now talking a little bit about dental amalgam. So we're talking about mercury. So there's actually a video, and I have trouble getting videos to work, so I'm not going to do a video within a video, but there, you can go to this area right here. And it actually, this is a picture of a tooth that's in somebody's mouth. I don't know how they actually do all this, or they're showing, you know, but it shows you the what happens from this vapor that comes out of the mercury, and that's in our body. So when mercury is exposed to hot water, cold water, other temperatures, different types of food, this vapor comes out of the mercury our whole lives. As long as we have it in our bodies, it's coming out of our bodies and going through wherever. So kidneys, stomachs, all over our body. I'm not sure that they have it. Pardon?
Releases that vapor.
Yes, the amalgam releases that vapor, this mercury.
When you have a,
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I thought we were muted. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, no problem. All right. So anyway, see that? It's really, it's just kind of astounding to see that. And a lot of you know that I work with women's breast health. And so this is from some of my information that I passed around, 15 years ago. So this is an older one. I didn't check today to see if that YouTube video is still up, but you can just see it. You don't have to know, that it's a, that's a better way to say, that it's doing something to your body when you've got this, vapor that can be released anytime you open your mouth and put food into it. So another comment, I think this is all of us should be able to just state this, we can't put mercury in waste disposal, you can't throw it out, you can't bury it, can't put it in landfill, but it's okay to put in people's mouths. So this dentist is saying that it doesn't make sense. But sadly, there are so many dentists that, in the past, especially used the silver amalgams, which are 51% and 49%, that's a little break off there so that they could call it silver rather than mercury. And nowadays, when a dentist gets rid or takes mercury out of somebody's mouth, they have to come in, with the EPA, and it's disposed of through that way with tight, stringent controls to get rid of it. But somehow it was okay to be in our mouth, So all of this does not make sense, does it? So be very careful of that. So as we talk about mercury, let alone the NCS that I just showed you, there's so many symptoms from mercury. So these all depend on how many fillings you've had, how long you've had them, how often you put something in your mouth, and what you're stimulating them with. Really? So mercury reacts differently to different foods and different things in our mouth. So I don't know that there's ever been a study to say, oh, diet pop would be worse than, oh, hot tea. They haven't come out with that as far as I know. But mercury does have at least 100 health problems. So that's why you want to run the mercury detox. I have 2 or 3 different codes for mercury detox on the watch. Obviously, you want to do a lot of other things. If you've had some mercury amalgams taken out, I did have one gentleman that came to me and his dentist had taken out 17 mercury fillings at one time. And the poor gentleman's hands, his fingernails were a silvery blue. Every single fingernail was discolored to an amazing degree. Today, he would look like he joined the, the people that paint their fingernails all these different colors. And it was just, you couldn't even stop looking at it. Here was a man that had silver blue fingernails and his toenails were the same way. And this happened after they took out 17 mercury fillings at one time. And he was deathly sick. And I do not believe that he survived. I called called the number and never was able to catch up with him again. But he was deathly sick when he came, and you could see that those heavy metals had just moved out of his mouth, moved differently. When it's bothering your fingernails, that's a big problem. So, don't know why I thought of that particular one, but it's another example of how our dentistry is so toxic to us. And that when we decide we want those toxins out, sometimes if we don't go to the right dentist, we can cause more problems than we started with. And I think that's what happened in this case, because a dentist should never take out more than one, possibly two mercury fillings at a time. That's a long process. So obviously, mercury is a neurotoxin. It can contribute to emotional, psychological, depression, anxiety, mood swings, and memory loss. So this is why those doctors who saw women that had the parasite overload, I showed you those gross pictures, they were telling them that it was just all in their head and that they needed some Prozac, because these women also were having some depression, anxiety, mood swings, memory loss, all of these kind of things. They may not have had mercury in their system, but evidently the white materials, as I have been calling them, because there could be a combination of those materials, they were causing some emotional issues also, so bad that doctors were trying to put them on something for their emotions. So now the WAVwatch jumps up again as being a very protective tool. So at the same time, if you're having some teeth worked on, you're having some mercury, or you already have mercury in your mouth and you're not doing anything with it, then you might want to play through some emotional issues once in a while, because our teeth can be connected with our emotions. Who would have thought? So these symptoms can worsen and maybe even let people know that the problem is from mercury. But for many, many time periods, that was never connected whatsoever. So there are 85 different frequency sets for emotions, So you can go through a lot of different things and see what you can come up with, but play some of those emotional things. If you've got some feelings of any kind, that would be my advice. I didn't list all of the diseases related to mercury problems, but this is a list of them. And it just kind of blows you away, doesn't it? I'm going to kind of let that sink in. I don't know that I need to read all of those. Somebody did call me this morning, and I don't know if she's on, it doesn't make any difference, but she asked me what I was going to be talking about today. And I said, well, I'm going to be talking about dental, and it's just huge. And she said, well, I may not be able to get on, because I'm really interested in diabetes. And I'm going, wait a second, diabetes is connected with dental. If you happen to have a filling on that tooth that actually is the one that drains down into your pancreas, you can become diabetic sometimes overnight. Or maybe that particular tooth that's connected with your pancreas just happened to break down. Maybe it's a bacteria draining in there, and it can be a slow drain. It doesn't have to be something that happens overnight. It feels like it's overnight because something happens, but that's probably been going on a long time, those toxins heading towards a particular organ system. So anyway, here we are. Diabetes is connected to dental work. It's connected to thyroid problems. And we could see that the very first pictures that I showed you, you could see how the dental inflammation from teeth would flow right past the thyroid or parathyroid down to the breast and on down. Crohn's disease, the list is just endless. And there's actually 100 different ones. I just named some of these. So people, women, men, children, everybody should be running the WAVwatch once in a while for some dental protection. There are some other things that we can do too, and we can open that up here in just a minute so that we can talk about some of those. Nickel's another one too. So now they've connected nickel, and 80% of the crowns use nickel. We call them porcelain, where they're supposedly nice and white, but they've got nickel in them. And then stainless steel is a nickel alloy. It's kind of interesting. So now we have a connection with breast cancer and nickel. So anytime we have heavy metals, we're going to see some kind of cancer connection, it seems like. So basically, these heavy metals change our hormones, and it does seem to bother women more, but now we're seeing more and more men who are being bothered also. And it may be in their chest area, it may be prostate, whatever. There's going to be some changes in men and women because it messes up our hormones. So here's another one. Again, cadmium, nickel, we already knew about aluminum. So cadmium is all over in dental materials. And I was told by one dentist that they all use different labs to order their materials from. And so different labs could, quote unquote, have different recipes. So one recipe for, a filling or might have a little bit different amount of nickel in it than another one, but nobody seems to know which labs are making the best materials for them to work with. And they don't seem to be policing themselves and say, hey, this is a cancer causer. Why would we put this in people's mouth? They don't seem to be getting enough research done so that we have cleaner materials. So anyway, all these heavy metals changes estrogen, doesn't matter who's it's connected to everybody. So I am kind of winding down. I can talk pretty fast here, so that leaves us some time for a little bit of visiting too. But other ideas for dental protection, I think I've kind of hit these, but we need to keep thinking about this. So I provided the playlist for you. Basically, all you have to do is go to pain, then you find dental, and you play those ideas. Then you could also add the detox folder, the germ folder, particular bacteria and parasites, and the emotion folder. So those are all really good things to add for your dental problems. So I kind of quit talking. I wish I had gotten a few more slides put in here, but basically, I think we've gotten some information about the toxicity of dental work and maybe just a few ideas on what we could do with it. So here we go. I'm going to open this up for some questions, or if anybody wants to volunteer something.
Linda, it's Joan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, I've had mercury fillings in my baby teeth. And
I remember that.
I've had health problems my entire life. And we go to a biological dentist out here in Scottsdale. And I had so many infections in my jaw. If I hadn't found her, I don't think I'd be here. And the dental for me has been the whole problem.
Yes, your whole life. You had baby teeth with mercury in it. So did you tell me you had 3 sets of mercury fillings?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
They had my baby teeth, then my adult teeth. Then they remove those, and then they put more mercury with gold on top. And 7 months into that, I ended up with severe endometriosis. And I had never had female problems in my life. up until that point. And then I took my mother with breast cancer to Dr. Yu in St. Louis, and he tested her teeth, and she had a root canal in number 3. And he said, get rid of the root canal. And she was in her 80s, and she didn't, so she had the breast removed. And then my husband has implants, and the dentist here says the implants can collect fungus, black fungus, and the teeth that are on the implants are giving off nickel and slowly poisoning him. So that's just a few things I've discovered on my journey with all these teeth.
And your journey has been a long journey, Joan. So
It has, yeah.
wow. Mhm.
When we were in Kansas City, our dentist fired us because we were so insistent on certain materials and things. So we used to go up to Dr. Cook in Wisconsin before he retired. And there are a lot of biological dentists out there that say they're biological dentists, but they do root canals.
So I hope everybody's listening. We're all over the country. And if you need any dental work done or you're worried about it, it is very hard to know who to go to. And Joan's a perfect example. She's been all over the country. So please do a lot of homework if you decide to go somewhere. I do have an example from the WAVwatch I forgot to mention. But I think it was told to me, so I didn't feel real comfortable, writing it down yet at this point, because she hadn't necessarily given me permission for the written version. But she was a lady that was having some problems with a root canal that had a cap on it. And so she, obviously went to the dentist, and they took it off, and they took the cap off and told her to come back in a month, which I was very surprised about. And so in that meantime, she had the WAVwatch, and she ran everything. I kind of went, through the list. It was just a few minutes that, I just said, hey, try this, try this, try this. And so she played the WAVwatch for that month. And then when she went back to have the finished up work done on that root canal, they told her she didn't need to have anything done, that it had regrown, and the enamel was even had regrown. Now, I didn't connect that all with the WAVwatch. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to take credit, but that's what she said she had done. Now, I think I also told her to make sure she upped her salt intake and her iodine. So that's one thing that, I talk about almost every single time. I hope people are increasing their salt intake, and try to muscle test or figure out whether you need the Redmond sea salt, the, Celtic salt, or a Himalayan type salt. Make sure that you've got a salt that's got some color in it. And I just saw somebody that said, oh, they had some salt that they were finishing up. They didn't want to waste it. And it's like, no, throw that white salt away, put it on your, the salt on the sidewalks, if you need it for snow. Don't use it in your body anymore. Get one of the salts that has 80 minerals in it. So my example for this, I did have an Amish guy come, and he got tested, and I'm not trying to pick on him or anything. Every single tooth in his body, the computer system that I use, the BioMeridian that I've mentioned several times, it did not like any tooth that he had, not one single tooth. And then recently I've had one other person that came in, and the computer didn't like any of his teeth either. And they're all sick. They are very sick. Sorry, that was my phone. So anyway, he did just the increased salt intake and oil pulling. And when he came back 6 weeks later, the computer at that point in time only had a problem with 4 of his teeth. So instead of 32 teeth being irritated, only 4. And it was simplicity at its best. Salt, heavier salt doses, and oil pulling. So don't forget that there's many more things that you can do. Okay, now I've had several people say, well, I actually like the WAVwatch better than oil pulling, but it doesn't hurt us once in a while to rotate all of these things through. Okay, anybody else have some more comments? Anything else I'd like to share about dental?
How do we find a good dentist? What do we ask or look for? And I've never heard of a biodentist. Is that what you said?
Biological.
Okay.
I don't have very good examples of that. I'm just like Joan said, I would look up biological dentist. I have people that come into my office and they've got some referrals. But when you're in a new community, it is hard to find. So I almost think word of mouth is one of the better ways. Joan, how did you find some of your people? You looked on the internet, I know, and did a search that way.
Well, I went to a dentist in St. Louis, and then they sent me to Dr. Yu, and Dr. Yu said, you need to go to Dr. Cook in Wisconsin. So that's how I found Dr. Cook. But then we moved to Arizona, and I went to a naturopath here, and they recommended a biological dentist here in Scottsdale. But they're very hard to find.
We asked them, Irene, are they listed under biological dentist? Or I'm sure if I ask the dentist I go to now, are you a biological dentist? He's going to say no.
I don't think a lot of them know what you're talking about when you ask that.
Okay.
And I have found that a lot of them, they say they're biological, and it's just an excuse to charge more money, but they don't know what they're doing.
Interesting. That is a phrase. Yep.
So
I want to find one.
well, the best one I found is here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And she's got people flying in from all over the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What's her name?
Dr. Katrina Wolski, Wolskie.
Do you mind typing her name in the? Would you mind typing her name in the chat, and then I'll copy it?
I just kind of want to protect her. I don't really trust Facebook.
Okay.
But you could try Scottsdale dentists, and so she's just outstanding.
Okay.
And she's the one that showed me the black fungus from people with their implants. And she removed 2 crowns I had, and I had black mold coming out from the crowns. And none of this showed up on x-rays.
Wow. All right, Lena, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say that the reason I bought this watch was for dental health, because I have Sjogren's syndrome. Every time I went to the dentist, I'd have a new cavity. Even though it would be a tiny one, I would still have to pay a large amount to get my teeth, filled. And since wearing the watch, I haven't had any new cavities. So, and my pockets around the teeth have improved. So I run my watch on Dental General every day. So it's really helped me.
Perfect. Anybody else have any dental comments?
Yeah, just a quick question and war story. But basically, I had a root canal done and then went south, and it developed into a massive infection over 30 days. And I had a 4-hour operation, 4 doctors working on me, and just a miracle that I pulled through. But I had, I got a 4-inch scar here. But eventually that led me to, a couple of years ago, I had every tooth pulled. And so now I have these beautiful set of teeth. My health is actually a lot better. It's kind of remarkable. So I wanted to ask you if because I'm just going to wait until maybe 10 years from now. If I'm still alive, they'll grow back. We'll have something that helps it grow back. You never know. But in the meantime, I had this fantastic smile. And I just wanted to know if, I use the WAVwatch for dental as well. But, I really don't have any problems anymore. I don't even have to go to a dentist. So.
So in your situation, something like the oil pulling, would probably be very helpful to just kind of keep your mouth rinsed out,
Okay.
and you'll be pulling toxins out also. And then the detox folder on the WAVwatch,
Okay.
because, you do have materials. So some of those materials could slough off and they might bother you. They say that, with some different types of things, the images that I showed, it was a 6 to 7 year period before women started having problems.
Mhm.
And that's why they were having such a hard time relating it back to the dental work that they'd had done and materials. So I would just be cautious and careful on detoxing as much as possible with some different methods.
All right, great. Thank you.
Perfect.
And I will send the doctor's number to Linda, and you can get it from her.
Oh, that might work. Okay. All right.
Linda, could you talk about oil pulling? I'm familiar with it, but I'm not familiar with it enough to educate my patients on. Could you talk about that a
Sure.
little bit?
And I started to put a slide in on it, but forgot about it. Basically, oil pulling is an ancient tradition from India, so it's thousands of years of history. And what you do is select either sesame, olive, or coconut oil. Now, the traditional oil was sesame, and you put about a half a teaspoon in your mouth and then swish it for up to 20 minutes, and then you spit it out. And so that is actually pulling a lot of toxins out of your whole body, because I did have a lady that had doctored for 6 months. She was having heart palpitations, and my computer system screening her said it was a tooth, and we could see that it was a tooth, and it labeled it, and it told us that it went right to her heart. And so she started oil pulling, and within just a couple of days, her heart palpitations were gone, you know. And so again, it had pulled toxins out, and the heart palpitations were gone, improved that. So oil pulling is pretty dramatic too. And I have had women that went back and forth to their dentist. And so the dentist had seen their teeth before and after oil pulling, and they were kind of like closing their eyes because they didn't know about that system, you know, the oil pulling, but they're going, I don't know what you're doing, but your teeth are much improved. Keep doing it. So the different kinds of oils tend to improve your gums a little bit and help to detoxify. Don't forget that oils are antibacterial. So that's the basic beginning of them. And we haven't been taught that oils are antibacterial. And it took me a while to think, oh, you know what? Aren't you supposed to put oil on a cutting board? I have to think kind of outside the box. Why do we put oils on a cutting board? They're antibacterial. We were never told that. I just thought it was to keep the wood in better condition, but it's antibacterial. So you put the oil in your mouth, you are working with bacteria too, getting it out. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, this is Janie,
All right,
and it's just by coincidence, I guess, but in the last week or two, my one side of my mouth, excuse me, back in the jaw area, just got to, well, kind of feeling pretty bad, and all of a sudden it just kind of cracked. And then from there on, I've had this horrible cracking sound every time I ate on that one side. And I mean, this has gone on for 2-3 weeks, just about drive me crazy. Every time I chew is crack, 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 you know. So I didn't know what to do. So I looked at the dental thing, and I did the gingivitis just out of curiosity. My goodness, it took most of that cracking away, and I just felt so good all over. The inflammation, or apparently whatever's in that file must have really worked and took down everywhere. It's just totally amazing. I couldn't believe that it stopped that cracking after 2-3 weeks. So
amazing. That's why I never would have thought about the gingivitis.
no, me neither. I mean, it's just, I just didn't know what to pick, so that's what I did. It worked.
Yes. Yeah. Great. That's a great addition to the testimonies. Somebody just, texted me that they bought some ozone infused oil pulling solution from the coconut oil, with coconut oil. And you can buy these, and sometimes it's a little tiny bottle for $6. And all they've done is use the liquid coconut oil. And I said $6, it's $12. And they've used the, liquid coconut oil, and then they put in some essential oils. So you can make your own very easily. You could buy something, it's called oil pulling oil, that's the label on it. Or you can just simply do the best cooking oil that you would use. It would be organic, that type of thing. And you can choose. I do muscle testing, and most of the time my body likes the sesame oil better than the other two oils. So I muscle test to see what kind of oil I use. And also you should be adding some iodine once in a while. Swish with that. You can put some Lugol's liquid iodine in your mouth with half a teaspoon of water. Make sure it's got some water in it, and then you're going to swish that, and that is actually proven to be very good to work with your dental also. Any other ideas?
Linda, you can ask your dentist to look at the ingredient bottle for what they're going to put in your mouth, because a lot of the white fillings have aluminum in them. So you can ask your dentist, they'll be annoyed, but to see what the ingredients are and tell them you cannot have any metals whatsoever in your mouth.
Wow. I mean, I was just so, it's just pretty sick that we haven't been able to figure out how to put good, decent things in our mouths after all of these years, that we have to be so careful. But most of our problems today can relate back to dental problems over the years, you know, too many materials in there. So I have one other example. I had gone to a chiropractor years ago with my thermography business, and I knew his wife had died of breast cancer. So I was kind of tiptoeing a little bit. And he saw one of my handouts that had the list of the 8 teeth that are connected with breast cancer. And he mentioned, he said, you know, I tell everybody my wife died of dental cancer. He said, I don't say she died of breast cancer. I tell them she died of dental cancer. So you really listen carefully. And what he said was that she had already started chemo and radiation and nothing was going on with her teeth. She just went to the, to get her teeth cleaned. And he said there was no pain, nothing was going on. But he said, how did pus shoot all over the technician's shield and hit the ceiling with force from a tooth that wasn't even bothering her? And then he pointed to my little booklet and he said, it was this tooth right here. And he said, think of all the testing she's had done, and not one test was able to see that that meridian point was, you know, that there was problems with drainage directly into her breast, causing the breast cancer. So again, the statistics are overwhelming on how much cancer that our teeth are causing us. So I just said something and I forgot it. We should also be playing the pathogen folder in the WAVwatch. Remember, that is the only cancer folder that I have there. I have to tread very lightly on that, but it does have some certain materials in there, some ideas. So you might play that once in a while if you've got a mouthful of teeth that you're worried about, or if you've just had a dental infection, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. That would be a good one to make sure that you are running periodically once in a while. Every couple of weeks, I think I run it. So, all right. I think we're kind of winding down unless we have any other comments.
And if you want to give Ann my information, I'm okay with it. If
Okay.
Ann wants to call me.
All right.
And
I
I
have a quick question.
sent you the dental information.
Oh,
Linda.
you sent it to me?
Yeah,
Like emailed it, or it's on the chat?
text.
Okay.
text.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. I'll get that to Ann.
So if we swish with iodine, will that turn our teeth yellow?
No, it doesn't. No.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to say, the way it, you know, goes on our skin, that would be really,
It's
Yeah,
absorbed,
yellow.
you know, yeah, it's absorbed. Yeah. And you're just putting a few drops in it, you know, a teaspoon or a tablespoon of water, whatever you could swish with. Okay.
okay. And on the pathogen thing that you said to play for teeth and cancer and stuff, would you just pick the cancer ones, or would you play this? It looks like a huge folder.
It is. I would play all of those because everything in the pathogen folder is related to cancer. So there's some
And I
parasites that are
like
cancer.
hepatitis, penis,
Yep.
all these things. So you just put it on the 2 arrows going like this,
Yes.
and then just let it go. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Because everything in that folder is connected to cancer. Epstein-Barr causes cancer. Schistosoma parasites cause cancer, you know, blah, blah, blah. Everything in there. E. coli is known to cause cancer. So that's another possible protection for you, because our teeth are connected to cancer. We've seen that. I gave you so many folders, so much information. Dental and cancer
Well, and
are
you
connected.
said that something about 8 minutes was a good time, but I know some of the things I put it on, it says 30 minutes. So is that already a combination of things that are in
Yes,
there?
it is. Uh-huh.
Okay. It's great.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, everybody, today. And don't forget that this is every week. You can pass it on to somebody else, even if they don't have a WAVwatch. Hopefully it won't be too confusing for them, but maybe they're interested in a WAVwatch. And then you could even share our WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics live on Facebook. And I'm not much of a promotion person, but I guess I'm supposed to say that at the end, So anyway, thank you for coming on today, and feel free to keep making some connections with me or other people. And thank you for having the WAVwatch. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda.
Oh, thank you, Ann. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda. It was very informative. And I've been down this road a long time, but I always learn something.
I do. Yes. Dental has been your problem.
Yep. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.